All right, so let's get into our second video. And in this video, we want to talk about what we do now that you have some DynamoDB code that's ready to go and ready to work, how to set up your DynamoDB database. And so we'll have this video, and then we'll have another video about actually setting up the Dynamo table once we're finished. But we want to do some challenging stuff right now, which is to set up IAM as well as setting up a policy that will allow us to talk to the website test table, which is right here. So we're going to go into AWS. Now I've already logged in, so this is what happens after you auth. And inside of DynamoDB, we will create a table called website test, and we're going to create a new table when we do, and we may just knock this one out. But let's talk firstly about identity and access management. There's really two important pieces of IAM. One is roles and the other is policy. And the roles are things that, so for example, we have the role called Dynamo intro role that we're going to invoke to do this example. And what happens are people will authenticate into your system, and then what you'll do is you'll give them a role, and the role grants them freedoms. It grants them access to things. So what we've done here inside of Dynamo intro roles, we've attached a policy called put item on Dynamo table. And you can take a look at this policy. We're going to make this policy inside of Dynamo in just a sec. You'll notice that, and this is kind of the standard syntax, is that you say, okay, once people get this role, once they assume this role, and this is the ARN, that we've kind of copied and pasted right here, they're going to get access to this policy. So they're going to be allowed to delete stuff, get stuff, put new data in there, query it, and then update stuff. And so these are core sort of CRUD, creation of data, deletion of data, updating of data inside of Dynamo. And then, of course, we know it by resource. And this is actually a table inside of DynamoDB that we're going to take a look at in a sec. And we'll say, okay, every time you've got the Facebook ID as your leading key, you get the ability to do all of these. And so these are going to be some things that we do once we add our Facebook identity to this data to push in new data. So let's go on back. And so you can see here, this is actually a policy that will be present under here. When we go into the policy, and we authored all of these freedoms, the ability to delete and get and put. We authored that into this nice little console right here. So you're gonna push in this text, and in this case, we're actually gonna have Dynamo generate this policy for us, and we're gonna put it right into this console, and we can validate it for correctness, etc. So let's go on into DynamoDB. And we're going to create some tables in here. This happens to be, we're going to make the table in the next video, but once we make that video, you're going to see that you've got a table here. There's items that are going to get created inside here, so there's a little workbench here, so you can put some sample data in here very easily and then edit it. You can figure what the read and write capacity is, and whether there's indexing to make it work faster, and then the access control, which is what we want to talk about right now. So what we'll say inside of access control is to say, if we use Facebook as the identity provider, which you guys will, go ahead and grab all the freedoms that you want to associate with this account, and we can create that policy. And so what IAM does is it gives you some code right here. Now, this happens to be very close to what we have, except for the batch get. And what we do is we're going to copy and paste that. And then so you're going to copy that, and then you're going to say, okay, let's create a policy. And so it's going to give you some instructions here about what you do. So you go into IAM, create a new role, select role for Web Identity Provider, and then put in your application ID, and then indicate it's going to be a custom policy, and then you're going to copy and paste this code in there. And so that's going to be how we created this very complex policy inside of our role inside of IAM. So you can see where that policy came from. So that's just traversing the Amazon Web Services account. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to create the database that you need to be able to begin to kind of input data. And then we'll go through the API in a later video on how to actually work with Dynamo once you're finished with this test. So, all right, I'll see you in a minute.